That's safe. It's not going to look great, but it's going to be safe. Let's take this puppy. Just go ahead and record this. Awesome, this will work. Don't need this. Oh, that's why. What's it going to look like here? Check, check, check. Ooh. Ooh. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. There we go. Check, check, check. Yes, video.
Howdy.
Hey, you're in there twice.
I am.
Prep this so I'm not blown away.
Did everybody else end up having class on Tuesday?
No, and I forgot until afterwards because I got an email saying, honestly, I got an email that I only half read just because a lot of things were going on, and I saw that they said something about everybody canceling it for elections, so I was just like, oh, okay, well, if they're canceled, I'm not going to worry about it. And then I got an email afterwards saying, are we doing that? I didn't realize. That's my fault for not letting you guys know, but I figure anybody that logged on figured out pretty quick that
Yeah.
it wasn't happening. I that's my bad for not jumping on it a little faster, but
It's all right. I went and voted.
yeah, good. That's everybody should do.
Okay.
How are your lines? I got through mine really fast, actually.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes and I was in.
Oh wow, I wasn't that fast. It was like an hour. I mean, I was waiting for it to be 2 or 3, and it was an hour, so I was pretty happy. Actually, it would have been longer, except I was about 3/4 of the way through the line, and somebody went out and they said, if your last name starts with T through Z, we can take you right now. So they pulled me out of line, and I went straight in.
Oh wow.
So yeah, if I had a different last name, I probably would have gotten screwed.
Right.
Oh, I just realized you're probably echoing.
Oh, I don't care.
Your voice is in the stream as well. I'm just got to be careful with that. Oh, I know how I can solve that. Hold on a second. I have technology. There we go. Now you shouldn't be in there. I just need to reset Pro Tools. There we go. That way, just muted that. That's weird. Anyway, okay, cool. Okay, so how did you guys, to pardon my poorly aimed camera, but how'd you guys do with the automation? Did it really throw anybody for a loop or anything? Was it easy or was it?
I think it took a while to get hands on and like actually use the tools. Yeah, because it's different than.
You there?
What'd you say?
Yeah, sorry, I opened up a session and it was at a different sample rate, so it cut my audio out for a second. What were you saying?
Oh, it was different getting hands on than watching you do it.
Gotcha. Did it end up? Did the video I made help?
I think it did.
The video that was in the session.
Like actually being able to use faders for automation is so much nicer than using your mouse and just hoping for the best.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. The irony of that is that when you've done it long enough, you kind of have an instinct for like, okay, I need to add a dB and a half or something like that. But you don't get to that point without the faders. So it's really, yeah, it's really difficult, I think, to mix without the yeah, not having it is makes it really rough. So yeah, I was always advocate for faders. You can actually get faders for pretty affordably. If you go on like Sweetwater, they have ones that are not motorized, that are they're usually a lot smaller. They're under $100, and they'll have 8 faders, but they won't be motorized. So what'll happen is there'll be some kind of way that it interfaces where you have to you'll have to move the fader, and it will give you some kind of indication when the fader hits where it is on the screen, and from that point you can start moving it. The other thing that happens is that you'll notice that, oops, sorry, I wanted to grab one other thing here. Something else you're going to notice is that the faders that we have there are, they're metal. You can tell because they're kind of silvery. So what that means is that it actually senses your finger on the fader, so that when you go to write something, it actually, I'm trying to do this with a GoPro and it keeps falling. So when you try to actually write something, it knows your finger's on there. So you can touch it, you can do the touch thing where you touch, and then as soon as you let go, it knows that you let go, and it will stop writing. The ones that don't have touch-sensitive faders, as soon as you stop moving the fader, it thinks you're done touching, and it just jumps back straight to read. So it's real. Unfortunately, touch mode is useless on a cheaper control surface. But the one we have in the studio will allow you to do touch. You can obviously still do latch, which is basically the way that the other ones act, even since they can't recognize that you're there, and the rest of that stuff. And just being able to grab multiple faders at one time and being able to wiggle and finesse the balance, that's the big thing of faders there, is that, especially when I'm doing drums, I'll grab the overhead and maybe the toms, and I'll move them back and forth to kind of feel my way into where they feel right. You can't really do that with a mouse, especially if you've got multiple toms. Like a friend of mine, I did a session recently, and a friend of mine brought in 5 toms. You know, even if, I don't know, like that's impossible for me to do with anything other than a control surface. So I got one hand full of toms, and then my overhead, and I'm balancing it, and maybe even the snares on another finger. And you can do all of that in conjunction in real time. And it's just, you can't really do that with a mouse. That's the down. I mean, as great as computers are, as great as everything, as wonderful as it is that we have all these tools, there's still limitations to it. There's still reasons that it's not ideal. What is ideal is the fact that you can go on a plane, or you can pretty much go wherever else it is you need to go to do your thing, and you can take it all with you. So, of course, that's the obviously nice part. So, but everything was good. Anything that anybody didn't find or whatever? Anything that people just got totally frustrated with automation?
I still don't know how the S curve works, and that is like my most used automation curve type thing.
Okay, that's fair. To be honest, I don't have a whole lot of experience with that either, because I never really used it.
I like it for like fade outs are really nice with it, because I don't like just linear fade out.
Oop. One second. I keep switching my sample rate, and it keeps acting up because I do it. I get a weird buzzing now. This is odd. Anyway, have I shown you some of the other ways you can do fade outs in Pro Tools? Oh, okay, cool. Well, then let's talk about that. Okay, so let's, for the sake of this, I'm going to I may just do it from here. I am running a stream, so it's recording, but it might be easier for me to just do this one from here. Yeah, let's just do this. Okay, so I should be showing you, you should be seeing Pro Tools. on the other me. Okay, so let's say that this is the file I want to do a fade out on. So normally we just grab it and we pull it and we do our normal fade out, right? Like we typically have done. If you, once you've made the fade out, if you go inside there and you click, you can actually drag it to change the shape of the fade. Okay? The other thing you can do is if you double click, oh, it's because I'm only sharing a single window, I think. Oh, no, it's waiting. There we go. If you double click it, you'll get this pop-up menu. And this pop-up menu lets you do the same things. It lets you grab it and change it. The green is showing you the end result here. But you can do things like your S-curve is right here. You can choose an S-curve shape and then...
See the pop-up.
Oh, you don't see the pop-up? Okay, let's send you over to the stream. That'll be easier. Let me send you the link just to make sure that you got it. There you go. Link is in the chat. Okay, so we're on the stream. Let me go. Oh, let me double click and give you the pop-up again. Okay, so if you're on the stream, now you'll see the pop-up I have going on here. So this pop-up allows you to do the same things. You can grab it and change the shape there. Oh, let me mute. You're hearing me twice. Let me mute myself in here. There we go. Okay, sorry. So the so you can do the same things with your fades here. You can also choose an S-curve here. So there's your option to choose an S-curve. And you should be able to... There you go. If you grab the outside of it. It's got to be a little bit of a sharpshooter to grab this thing. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So, oh, I know. I'm forgetting. You have to... I was trying to go up and down. You have to move the cursor left and right to get it to change this S-fade. So there's your S-fade. And there's also a couple other shapes that you can have it create for you. This one's kind of funny because it's not really a fade. It's just a straight up cut for the most part. And then you have that. You've got, you know, a steeper version. You've got your linear version. And then you have the opposites that do, you know, all the opposite. Instead of starting strong and then dropping off, they drop off and then they have a long tail essentially. So yeah, you have a bunch of options there if you're just doing fades, instead of doing it with the other, instead of doing it with automation necessarily. Okay. Now let me make sure. So we've talked about automation. I'm going to go back to the. Do that here. I'm going to go back to the chat to make sure that I can hear you. Let me do... Sorry, I'm thinking about how I want to do this. I think it's easier to do this. Oh, we can't. Okay, yeah, let's do it this way. Okay, so I should be back on the chat. And I'm... Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to do this.
Stream audio is a little quiet for me. I don't know if that's for anybody else.
That is my fault. I turned down my voice because I didn't want to blow you guys away. I'll turn it up a little bit.
No worries, thanks.
Yeah, just let me know about that stuff. I have no way to, I don't really have any great way to get a feel for it on my end, other than meters. Okay. Where was I? Now I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, gotcha. Now I get it. Okay, so we've done automation, and I've got videos for most of you. If you haven't sent me a video, I need that soon. Can you in the chat let me know? I've got a lot of emails in my inbox, and I'm pretty sure I pulled everything, but in case I missed it, can somebody just send me a yes if you have in the chat if you have sent yours, or a no if you haven't sent it yet. If you forgot, you can go ahead and let me know today, and I can post it, and I'm going to send you guys all links to where all the videos are. I just want to post them all at once. So if you guys can put that in your chat so that I can tell. Let's do it from here. Okay, everybody let me know if if I don't have a video from you, then it's going to be tough to do the project. So when you start getting into your project, there's a couple things that I wanted to show you guys in Pro Tools that are going to make this easier. So the first thing to show you, to discuss, is that whenever you make a new file, or whenever you are adding a new sound effect, blah, 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 blah. Hold on a second. I think I'm still, hey, yep, okay. I'm turning my chat mic off and going back to the stream, sorry. Whenever I go from home, all my habits are out the window. Okay, so when you add new audio for your sound design, the thing that I suggest is that you're gonna put a new track for every single sound. So let's say that you've added, well, footsteps would be, a group of footsteps would be one sound, but a sword swish would be one sound. It might happen multiple times, but it would be one sound. Breathing might be one track. A door closes one track. A plate scraping across a table might be one track. One of you, I don't remember who off the top of my head, is doing the Batman thing with the hospital, and there are multiple explosions. I think each explosion should have its own track, because each explosion is going to be different. Some of them are shattering windows, some of them are structural, some of them are in the in that scene. There's a walkway between the two hospital buildings. And that would be a hollow walkway, so that explosion would sound different from the reinforced steel of the main building, that kind of stuff. So you've got all these different things. The reason you want to do that is because you may EQ or process each one separately. So you don't want one track that has my silverware on a plate, and the kitchen door, and the drawer, and the refrigerator. You don't want all those things on one track. You want it to be on separate tracks. So I've put up a music track, just because it was easy to pull up, but the concept's going to be the same. Let's say that these are all sound effects. For a music track, you're going to get, maybe a dozen tracks. It's not so bad. For these sound effects videos, it's not surprising if you end up with 20 or 30 tracks, and some of them have one little sound on them, and that's it, and then they go away, and then they're done. You're going to end up with a bunch of crap. So let's talk about a couple ways that you can deal with things. The first thing I want to show you guys, and I can't remember if I showed you this before, but it's worth reviewing if I have, even if I have. Right here I've got background vocals. Now, this could be explosions, this could be whatever it is you want, and let's say you've got dozens of these things, and they're taking up your whole screen. If you hold Option-Shift, and I don't know that I've shown you this shortcut, but Option-Shift, remember Option is due to all. Option-Shift is due to selected. So here I have 3 tracks selected, and I want to just deal with those. So I'm holding Option and Shift. And then, actually, I'm going to let go of that for a second because I'm on the wrong screen. I'm going to come over here where I've got my mix window. I'm going to have Option and Shift. And then I'm going to pull down my blah, 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 blah. I'm going to pull down my output menu, and I'm going to choose New Track. Okay, and I get a pop-up window. So my pop-up window can be an aux send because I can make a group, I can make a bus, I can do all those kind of things. We've talked about that before. But there's something else you can do here, and you ignore the first part, and you come over here, and I apologize, it's not in this menu. Sorry, this is a fairly new feature, so I'm messing with myself here. So we're going to go up to the track menu instead. Anyway, if you want to make a group, you can also do it that way. So the Option Shift thing is not it's not wasted. You can totally make it. You can totally send everything to a bus. You can totally send it to a new track. If you want to make a new track, excuse me. If you want to make a new track, you can do that, etc. But for right now, I'm going to go to Track, New. We're going to skip this stereo whatever thing, and we're going to go Audio Track, and I'm going to choose folder. So I'm going to choose I'm going to choose a routing folder. I'm going to choose a stereo routing folder, and I'm going to call this background vocals, but you would call it explosions or whatever you want. And it creates this track here. You're going to notice it has a little folder icon, okay? Now, and it automatically creates an input that is the same as the title of the track you just made. So BGV is the track I just made, and notice that the input is BGV. So now if I go here, I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to hold Option Shift. I'm going to choose my output. I'm going to choose bus. I'm going to choose BGV. It changed all of those because, again, I'm holding Option Shift. Changed all of my outputs to BGV. Now, if I come over here, let's go somewhere where I have vocals in all of that. My computer's working too hard. Let me check one thing real quick. Nope, that's good. It's probably because I have so many plugins, and then I'm also trying to stream to you guys. So let me make everything inactive. I'm holding the Option key to do this, and it should be freeing up my processing power of my computer. Heck, I'm just going to make my reverb sends inactive as well. Okay, so now. Okay, well, great. Pro Tools doesn't want to stream and do this at the same time. This is a high. This session is actually running at 88.2, which is probably why it's freaking out. It's not running at 44.1. But anyway, you saw that it showed audio in here. So now I have all of this stuff running into this track, and then the result, the sum of these three tracks, is showing up in the audio of this track. But the important part is if we come back over to our edit window, I'm going to put this BGV folder. I'm actually going to, just for the sake of my OCD, I'm going to make everything the same color, including the folder. Now, so I've got all of that. Now, this took up even more room. That doesn't help me. So what am I going to do? If I hold the Shift key, I can grab these, and if I drag them upward towards the BGV folder track I just made, and I let go, it drops all of those into the folder. Okay? And I can close that folder by clicking that, and this actually is showing me a representation of what's going on in this track. Even if I make edits, you'll see them reflected in the small view. But now I can save a crap ton of space. I could do this for my drums, my guitars, my keys, and I could end up with basically 4 or 5 tracks total instead of 11. And obviously, if you're doing sound effects, instead of having 30 tracks, you could have 6 or 7, and it makes your life a lot easier. The other thing that's really nice about this is that you can draw automation on the folder, which then automates everything that's going through that routing folder. So now that you know how to do automation, you now can do automation faster. Because let's say you have, let's say you've created your scene is in the woods. A couple of you have scenes that are in the woods. So what do you need in the woods? You need leaves rustling, You need birds, probably in the trees. You need maybe animals. You need wind. You need all those kind of things, right? So you've got multiple things that are going to make up your outdoor scene. Well, you can put all those outdoor sound effects into an outdoor folder, and then if you want the outdoor scene to mute or pan, and I don't know why you'd pan it necessarily. Well, you might want to pan it. Volume, mute, all those kind of things that you'd want to do. As soon as you do those, then you now have the ability to, right? You can just automate the entire thing as a group instead of having to go through the rigmarole of copying automation everywhere and doing all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, this should be really helpful. One thing you may have also found out that I didn't necessarily mention in the automation thing is that you can cut and paste automation, but you can't cut and paste automation between different types of automation. So you can't take the curve you made for volume and paste it into another track's panning, expecting the panning to react the way the volume did. Not that you probably wouldn't want to, but it just as an FYI, if you ever had that inkling, I don't believe you can do it unless there's been a change. I am prefacing some of these things because Pro Tools 2020 has been coming out with more and more updates that have been normally it's like bug fixes, but Avid has stepped up their game and started adding a bunch of features in their new updates in 2020. So it's really kind of nice. Maybe they feel guilty for COVID or something, that they just want everybody to have something to do. But they're stepping up their game with some things. So if something I tell you is wrong, first off, let me know, because I'd be curious to know if something, when things have changed that I haven't necessarily caught myself. Okay, so I'm just going to check in with the chat real quick. Make sure that this all makes sense before I go on to the next thing. Just give me a thumbs up or something in the chat window. Everybody's good so far? Ah, crap. Hold on. I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. Oh. Go ahead. Sorry. What'd you say? Oh. Sorry. What'd you say?
I was wondering if automation attached to the clip itself or to the track generally?
I believe it should be attached to the clip. So if you cut and paste a clip, the automation should go with it.
Okay, is there any way to, because I know a few other programs can, like Logic can, you can switch between the different modes of, like, automation is attached to the clip, and then you can copy and paste the clip and it'll keep the automation, or no matter where you move the clip, that automation stays on that track.
I don't know that there's an option for that. There might be. That's a great question. I've personally never had the need to do that.
I haven't. I'm curious.
Let's see. That's a great question. I'll have to look at that one. I don't see anything in the menus right off the bat about your options here. Oh, wait. No, there it is. Automation follows edit. It's in the options menu. It's just checked. I've never bothered to mess with it. You guys see that? Yeah, it's about, a little more than halfway down. Yeah, so to be honest, how it exactly behaves, I can't tell you. Like I said, I've left that checked for the past 20 years and not thought about it, so. So, I know most of Pro Tools. I don't know absolutely everything about Pro Tools. So, So yeah, give that a shot and let me know what you guys find out about that. I need to check one other thing here. What happened to my YouTube stream? So I want to check on the stream real fast. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure I was recording. Wanted to make sure I didn't shut that off by accident. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you, this may or may not be useful to you in the sound effects project, but it's a useful thing nevertheless. And we haven't really talked about clips. Now remember, a clip is anything that is... Oops, let me shut off this so I'm not doubling up on the, excuse me, on the stream. Okay. So clips are anything that has content. So clips could be audio, clips could also be video. Let me go ahead and create a new MIDI, let's just make an instrument track here. And this is MIDI. We'll talk about MIDI here in a bit. Actually, we got time. I got an idea. Let me get to this real quick. So I'm in notes mode. I'm actually going to draw some notes in here. Pretend like they mean something. They don't. They're just random notes there. Great. So I've drawn in some notes. So I now have information in this MIDI track. This instrument track right here is MIDI. I'm going to put it next to the keys because that's what it actually would be. Again, just for the sake of clarity and for my OCD, I'm going to change the color because that's what color I make keyboards. And we have some options of how to view it. I want to view it as a clip. Now, as a clip, it becomes this. It becomes a block that shows you a representation of the notes that are in there, but you can't grab individual notes. So that's actually kind of nice when you're doing certain edit things to be able to do that. One quick second. Okay, so it's great. It's nice to be able to just grab this and move it around. You can move it around as a chunk. If you're in grid mode, obviously, it makes it real easy to move MIDI stuff around. Oh, hold up. Oh, shoot. Okay, so you have a clip here that you can move around, and audio files are clips as well, okay? So let's say that I want to deal with these as a group. So I am going to say that I want to make a group of these things, all my keyboards. If I do, let's see. Yeah. So, Command G is how we made edit and mix groups for automation and for just controlling things like groups and things like that. If you hold Option and you go Option Command G, you make a clip group. So a clip group says that I now have this giant chunk of things that I want to use as one piece. Okay, so I have now made a clip group, and notice that I just went ahead and selected the clip group, and it's made this clip group, but it hasn't gotten rid of anything that's already in there. So that's one thing that you'll have to be aware of. Now, if I instead, let's undo this group. If I instead came in here and went ahead and said, you know what? There we go. I already made that edit. Now I want these two audio clips and this MIDI clip to be together. Option Command G. I've made a clip group. Now it's not there anymore because I selected an entire chunk of an audio file. So it's going to take that with the clip wherever it goes. Whereas if I don't select, if I'm only choosing a partial section of the audio, Option Command G, it leaves a copy of it where it was. Okay, so when you have these groups, there's a couple things you can do with them. You can take them, and when you can take these and do things like, I'm going to trim the whole thing together, audio, and let me go into grid mode and let me change to something. Okay, there we go. Where are the grids? Oh, it's just I'm not zoomed in enough. There we go. So, okay, so we've got this. Now, let's say that I want to make a copy of this. I can do Command D for duplicate. And there I go. Now I've got loops all day long. And I can also do a loop. So if I'm going to make a clip loop, the clip loop says how many loops do I want. I want a total number. Let's say I want a total number of 4 loops. And if I hit OK, it's going to give me a total of 4. The important thing to remember is that when you tell it how many loops you want, it's going to give you that many total. It doesn't add as many as you it doesn't add as many as you've asked for. It adds the number you've asked for minus 1 because it's obviously copying the first clip that you've already selected. So keep that in mind when you're making your clip loops. Okay. If you decide to make that loop, there's a couple things you can do with this. So let me zoom in. Not set to zoom in. At the bottom of this loop here, what you may or may not see is that there is a little arrow that kind of hooks. Okay? The little arrow that kind of hooks that represents that there is a loop there. Okay? So if I go in here, and if I'm here, if I'm at the bottom, I get my trim tool. And if I do that, it literally just takes the result and trims it. Okay? And actually, I can even make it longer than it was. I can actually make my loop continue indefinitely. If I go up, if I take the hand that's here, it really does nothing. If I come up to the middle, it gives me the trim tool, but it gives it to me with a loop. It's actually not doing anything. Okay, that's why. I apologize, I don't use these very often, so I got to remember exactly how these all work. Okay. I'm drawing a blank. I apologize. But you have a couple ways to do. Let me grab my book. Where are my books? I had them here. Oh, there they are. Nope, that's not them. Ugh, my Pro Tools books are not where I expected them to be. Let me actually instead, let me approach this a different way. Okay, there we go. I do have second. Ah, there it is. I have two YouTube channels that are pretty much named the same thing, and I always forget which one's which, and that's my fault. Okay, I'm going to, in the chat, I'm going to switch back to the chat. So for the sake of review, I will put the link of the video we just watched in the description so that you can go back and look at that as well, since it won't necessarily be part of the stream. Now, we've talked about clip groups. I don't use them very much. It's another one of those things that really doesn't have a place in working with classical music, obviously, so I don't use it as much. So I apologize for stumbling a little bit on that one. But I think you guys will probably find it much more useful in some of the popular music type things that you'll be working on instead. Okay, the next thing I want to show you, and I actually I took the liberty of opening up a session that is considerably that is at 44.1 instead of hold on a second. Okay, sorry, it's a session that's at 44.1 instead of 88.2, so it shouldn't be crashing on me. The thing I wanted to show you next is something that we really haven't messed with, and it's under the Windows option, New Workspace. And we're going to make a new workspace, which is this guy, which normally doesn't pop up full screen. Oh, it's because I'm full screen, that's why. Let me not be full screen. There we go. So now, hopefully, it shouldn't act that way. There we go. That's what I wanted it to do. Okay, so the workspace volumes here. Hold on, I just heard a chat ding, so let's... Oops, that's not the right window. What am I doing? Okay, so the workspace here, when you open up the workspace browser, you're going to see that it kind of looks like a Finder window that you normally have in Mac, but it's a little bit more powerful than that. Now, one of the things that's... oops, this is... anyway, so this lets you do a number of things. It lets you basically organize how files are stored in Pro Tools. Now, when you guys open it up, you're going to see you're going to obviously see very different hard drives showing up. The one that is the basic one, you're going to see should just say transfer on it. It might say playback. It might say P or T. Should not be record. Actually, I want this to be this. So what's going on here? And let me set. Let me fix this right now. I'm trying to get around it, but let me see if I can go ahead and do this. Nope, I want to be there. There he goes. Change my accessibility so I can do this. It might not be letting me do this because I am sharing the screen. Oh, unless I did something wrong there. I recently reset up my whole... Nope, that's it. I don't know why it's not letting me do it. I recently reset up my laptop, so that's why it's acting up a little bit. So anyway, so you're going to see permissions here, and these permissions decide what Pro Tools is allowed to do on any given hard drive. So Pro Tools can record, playback, or transfer. Transfer means that you're welcome to take Pro Tools files and move them around onto that hard drive. That's, at the very least, that's what you should always be able to do, is move files around. Playback means that I can put a Pro Tools session on my desktop, on my laptop, and I can open it and I can play. I cannot, however, record. So the idea there is that I don't want to accidentally start filling up my internal hard drive with my desktop and make my computer run slow because I've accidentally put all these audio files on it. So I've got my personal laptop set to playback so that I could play back a session if I needed to. I could even mix, but I can't record. So I won't accidentally put a bunch of files on my desktop that I don't want. And then R is record. It basically means you can do anything you want to in Pro Tools with that folder, which is the way it should be. So volumes is where you have all those files under there. It actually opens up in volumes, but there is one option above that that says sound libraries. This is actually a sound library that should be available in Pro Tools. Give me one quick second. Okay. My wife found an old picture of me from high school. It's pretty embarrassing, but anyway. So okay, so sound libraries is sound libraries that Pro Tools comes with. They're mostly loops, some sound effects, but mostly loops. So you're not going to find the sound effects in the sound libraries drop down. I'm going to talk about that more in a second. Switching to sound libraries opens up this search window, but I'm going to talk about that more in a second. If you have a Pro Tools, when you have a Pro Tools session open, it will also show you the PTX, that good old PTX icon that shows that you have a session open. And then you can go in there, and then you can actually navigate around the folders that are associated with the session that is currently open. Track presets are here. Honestly, I don't find them super useful. It basically lets you kind of go through, for the instruments we have, and kind of figure out, you can kind of see information on those. Not a whole lot of use for that, to be honest. Catalogs, something else that you're really not going to need to use. User is going to be how you get to the desktop, your user window if you're on your personal computer, those kind of things. But again, we don't normally put things on our desktop, so it's usually not an issue. Or it's not something we care about. But here's the thing where this is really useful. I'm going to go back to volumes. And if you come up here, you're going to see that there's a little box up here that turned blue when that search window opened. So I click on that and I open the search window. And let's say I want to find something. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for bass. So I'm going to hit bass. And it's now going to populate this window with every track that is on my computer that has the word bass in it. And folders. And loops, and all sorts of stuff. Anything that has the word bass in it is going to show up in here. Okay? So I can also come in here. Any file, even plugins, it's showing up. So if I come in here, let's say instead I wanted gunshot, because I know some of you have gunshots in your videos. Okay, so there is nothing that's labeled gunshot, but what about labeled just gun? Oh, there we go. So now we have gun, grab pistol, drop pistol, gun, hit face, let's see, fire, campfire, that's another thing I have there. I don't have the sound effects library on my computer, so just because it's not showing up for me doesn't mean it's not going to show up for you. The sound effects library is on a different hard drive for me. Actually, if I have the cable right here, oh, there it is. I'm missing the adapter. Anyway, excuse me. So, yeah, when you guys do searches for the sound effects you want, they will pop up in this library. Now, the cool thing is, let's go back to bass. Okay, and I'm just going to select this bass track. I can hit play here. There's a little bit of space at the beginning here. So it's playing that track. I can audition it from this window. And the cool thing is I can just go down the list, and especially if I have sound effects, I can you keep clicking on the next plus. No, I didn't ask for that. Actually, I did accidentally hit that. Anyway, you can hit the next plus, and you can audition all the files that you're considering playing. Okay? Now, when you do that, there's a couple things you want to pay attention to. One of them is that you have a loop button up here, which means that when it plays, it's just going to loop it, so you'll keep hearing it repeatedly. This is your playback button, basically. It defaults to loop preview. Man, my computer's just not happy streaming and doing audio Pro Tools at the same time. So that allows you to do that. You can also change the pitch in. I'm sorry, this is the gain. Actually, the pitch thing's kind of a pain. I will talk about that at a different time. This here actually is the button that says whatever this sound effect is you're looking for. If I click on this, let's say you've recorded something to a metronome, you've done some kind of hip hop or EDM or, well, even rock track that's been done to a metronome, and you want to open up, you want to try out drum loops, for example. I don't know that I have drum loops in here. Let me see if I do. I don't. Like I said, I don't have a lot of this pop music stuff loaded in my personal laptop. But if my loops showed up and I click the metronome here, it will play back the loop at the tempo of the session that I'm actually working on. So I'll know what it would sound like, because when you have loops recorded when it comes up with loops in the sound library, which I can't remember if I've got them installed at Otterbein. If I don't, I will come up there and I will make that happen next time I'm up there. The loops are recorded with metadata that says this loop is at 120 beats per minute. So if my session's at 110, it will slow down the loop so I can hear what the loop would sound like. Because if it's an audio loop and you slow it down, it might get so slow that it sounds garbly and then it's not useful. So if you listen to it in the tempo you're going to use it at, then you know whether or not you actually want to bother using it. And as you probably guessed, if you find something you like, if you click and drag it, you can just simply drop it into your session right from this window, and you can be off to the races. So, again, if you're looking for sound effects and you find sound effect and you play, oh, I want these three, so I'm now going to highlight these three and just drag them and drop them, bang, I can just get right to work. This, I find, is a much faster way to work when you are doing sound effects than coming up here and doing the whole import audio, and then you have to select the audio and add it, and you can audition it down here, but it's not as flexible here. So the workspace browser, again, is in the window options, new workspace, default. Default gives you the window I just showed you. Actually, it's showing the last way I left it. If you go to Soundbase, it's basically the same thing, but it starts by giving you this right off the bat, where you can you can specify some parameters for the things you're looking for, and that's really just this button right here. All the Soundbase thing is the workspace I showed you, plus this blue button that's a magnifying glass with a plus button. So I can say, for instance, I want the kind is an audio file, the key is any, I don't have keys listed, time signature is, loop is any text column contains bass. Okay, so now that I've done that, oops, I'm in the sound library still. See, now I go to volumes and it meets all these criteria. So earlier when I selected bass as my search criteria, it pulled up all sorts of things like, it pulled up plugins that had the word bass in them, it pulled up videos that had the word bass, it pulled up YouTube links that had the word bass, it pulled up anything that my computer had with the word bass in it. But since I've specified that I want it to only be an audio file, now my list is nothing but audio files. Yep, that's an audio file too. It's just a locked audio file. It's not even, it's not anything different. So you can very much specify that and not get all the extra crap if you just hit this magnifying glass plus button right here. That gives you what's referred to as the sound base. It allows you to specify the things that you're looking for when you do your process. Okay. One other thing I don't know. Well, you probably saw it in the automation video that I showed you. The automation video, when you have a video track, there's a little O in a blue box over here. Let me just go ahead and let me see if I can quickly find a video to show you what I'm looking for here. There should be one on my video drive. I need one that's not giant. 4 gigs is giant. Let's pull this one up and see what happens. New track. I'm not going to pull up the audio video. And it's going to take a minute. So when you have your video, you do have the option to shut that off if it's hogging resources. And maybe you want to loop some audio and you want to work on the sound of the audio, but you don't really need to look at the video. When you make short loops when you're doing sound effects, sometimes Pro Tools will freak out because it's trying to replay the video quickly. and it's not about the video, it's about you looping like a gunshot or an explosion or something, and you're just trying to work on, okay, didn't want to open that video. Actually, I think I grabbed something that was not a compatible format. Anyway, if you don't want to watch the video, if you want to turn it off temporarily, normally over here where you've got all this information, if it's a video track, right here in the lower right corner, there will be an O in a blue box. The O means online. If you click that blue box, it grays out, and then the video doesn't play for you anymore, and it saves some processing power in your computer. If it's acting up on you, makes life a little bit easier in that particular case. I don't recall that I actually, let me go back to the chat for this particular question. Okay, so this is Waves Tune, which if you opened it before, you may have seen this before. So Waves Tune is kind of cool. It's actually very cool. So we're going to choose an audio recording here. Actually, this might be a little rough because the session I opened, he was playing guitar or banjo as he sang. So let's see what it does here. Let's see what's in this track. Yeah, that's not going to work. Let me open up a different session here. That's the one that's... Yeah, that's not going to work. Oh, this one will work. Yeah, this one will work. We got a lot of groups and things going on in this session. Where's my vocal? Oh, this is... I haven't fixed this. This is a session that I did... Oh, good lord. 12, 13 years ago now. So this was before I was really all over my whole... before I was super picky about my whole... about all the color coding. So I apologize that I'm not showing what... I'm not modeling what I preach here. Okay, so pitch. Gonna go to Waves Tune. Actually, having said that, it's driving me nuts. I'm gonna go ahead and fix this now. This is another vocal. I'm not sure why my drums are in such a weird place, but anyway. Anyway, that's enough for me to be able to navigate just for now. Oh, this is a special effect track, so I had to do something else with that. Anyway, we're looking at this particular vocal here, which is this one here. I'm going to look at this much of her audio. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play her audio. You're going to hear her voice. I'm going to have this open. Notice that it's completely blank right now. So I'm going to hit play.
Do you know where your time is gone?
Okay, so as soon as you do as soon as you play past an audio file, it can actually be a monophonic instrument too. It could be violin, it could be anything that's one note at a time. It reads it, and it recognizes where all of those pitches were. So, luckily, she was very much a good singer, so she very much sang in tune, right? But you can see you have the green line and the yellow line here. The green line represents what Waves Tune is doing to the file. The yellow line represents the original audio. Now, if you can see the yellow line, which you probably can't because of the resolution, it's squarely within this. So she was singing the correct note, and this is vibrato, and this is what vibrato should look like. This was the note she sang, but the vibrato goes half a step down and half a step up, roughly. And that's what vibrato should look like. It should be centered around the pitch that the note is written as. But it's not uncommon to see all of these random things here. These are things like fall-offs, like when they go, that kind of thing. Like those little things that make a vocal interesting, basically. So if a note here was sung wrong... Oh, I should also mention, so what you probably can't see is that the yellow and the green line are not perfectly matching up, and I haven't done anything yet. That is because there is pitch correction. It is trying to pitch correct as it is. Like, as soon as it takes in information, it's trying to pitch correct. But if there's a note that's wrong, Or if for a creative reason I actually wanted to change the note she sang, I can totally come in here and I can grab this. This block is what this block is what Wavestune thinks is a single note or a syllable or whatever. I can grab this and I can change the pitch of that note.
Do you know?
Right? If you listen, you can hear that that first note's half a step higher than it should be. Let me go more extreme.
Do you know?
Right? And it's pretty natural if you don't go too far.
Do you know?
Right? So you can totally change that. So when a singer sings the wrong note, you can totally make it the note it's supposed to be. Now, if you go to the bottom, it says speed, note transition, and ratio. This is the automatic correction it's doing. You can decide on a macro level what note it should be, but the plugin itself will decide where the pitch should be. So speed is how quickly does it make that transition. Right now, I've got it at it jumps pretty significantly. It goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 milliseconds, 60 milliseconds, 70, 80, 90, and then it goes 100 to 200, and then it suddenly shoots all the way up to 800. So it depends on how long. And I had it, you'll notice that that note didn't change instantly because I had the speed knob turned up a little bit. Let's turn the speed knob down and move that note and play it again.
Do you know?
Right? Now, it's going to try to give it a little bit of leeway to make it natural, but I'm also, actually the note transition is the other thing that I can change here. Oh, you can even see the green line changing. There you go. Now, if you want it to instantly happen,
Do you know?
so I can totally change the pitch if I actually want to. If you want the T-Pain / share effect, that happens when you take the speed to 0, the note transition to 0, and the ratio to 100% correction.
Do you know when your time is gone?
Nope, this one is not doing it so great. If you really want the share effect, this plugin apparently doesn't do it super well. Yeah, the other, I've never tried to do it with this. In Auto-Tune or in Wavestune real time, if your note transition is instantaneous and your speed is instantaneous and your ratio is 100%, you really get the T-Pain effect.
Do you know when your time is gone?
Yeah, it doesn't really do it so much with this plugin. I apologize that it's not quite the effect I expected it to be. But yeah, so if you need to fix pitch, or like I said, if you want to be creative and you want to change the pitch, you can totally do it with Wavestune, which we do have. So if you've got, for instance, you can even do this with speech. So if you've got dialogue that you want to change, let's say one of you records dialogue for one of your videos, but you want to change your voice so that it doesn't sound like you. You can mess around with a bunch of this stuff. The formant up here, which says corrected, if you don't correct the formant, then it starts to sound a little bit less human. So those of you that have non-human characters in your videos, you might want to turn off the formant and then play with the pitch and do some things like that. You're more than welcome to do that. Okay, so today was a little bit of a hodgepodge of different things. I'm going to go back to the chat.